Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca and welcome back to My Bookish Travels. Today I am going to be doing an updated TBR crate for the month of February. Today I'm going to show you the 4 books I'm going to be adding to the existing crate and whatnot. Now I'm not going to be going through every single book that's already existing in the crate. In the description box below there will be 2 main links that if you want to kind of see, you can. The first is going to be the January TBR crate video where it's going to explain a little bit more about what it is, what's in it. The second link is my Goodreads link, which is always in the description box. I just don't mention it in my video, but my Goodreads link will showcase, if you click it, what I've read and what is still existing on my TBR shelf. So if you want to kind of follow along, that's the best place to kind of see it. So I'm going to jump into the 4 books I'm adding to my existing crate, and then maybe closer to the end of the video, I'll give you a slight update because I have made some slight changes to my initial video that I made. So the first book that I'm going to be adding is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. And yes, this is the UK edition. I did purchase these because I liked the UK covers way more than the North American. I like the fact that it gives like just the upper part of the book gives a very eerie atmosphere. And then on the lower half, we have an open book and like bottles, which I would assume have poison in it. So the story, if I'm remembering correctly, follows our main character who's on death row. And the only way that she can be given kind of the option of stepping out of dying is to become a poison tester. Now, if I'm mistaken on that, so be it. I'm not reading the description to kind of update myself. When it comes to reading this, I will figure it out then with the storyline. But when I picked this up, I also picked up the sequel, Magic Study, as well as the end of the trilogy, Fire Study. And yes, I know I just said the end of the trilogy, and that's because when I initially purchased these, this was the entire world. But before I sat down to film this video, I did notice that on this series that there's actually a number of other books that the author has written. So she's decided to continue the world from these initial 3 books. I don't know if they follow the same character or if it's just a different character, same world, but we'll see. So these are the first 3 that are getting added to my crate for February. The 4th and final book that I'll be adding is Starters by Lissa Price. I know nothing about the synopsis of this, but there are 2 things that I do know. Number 1, I really love that it's a duology and that the titles are so perfect. Book 1 is called Starters, book 2 is called Enders. Number 2 is, although they are covers that just have a picture of a girl's face, I am so drawn to it because I love the color contrast. The second book I think is either orange and red or yellow and orange. I can't remember. But I just really appreciate the fact that somebody took the time to be like, let's not just put a girl's face on the cover. Let's kind of spruce it up a bit. And I liked it. So the reason why I don't actually know anything about this is because I initially picked this up a number of years ago when my one friend and I tried to start a book club together. It ended up seriously not being a big success. What ended up happening was a couple months into it, it was just getting really difficult. Number 1, for us to stick with the goal of basically we had chosen 12 books. I chose 6, she chose 6. This was one of hers. And every other month we would read it and then get together and discuss it. And it was just getting very difficult with having a 6-hour time zone difference to try to sit down and find a date and time that worked for both of us with our schooling or our work schedule and being able to discuss the books we read. So it just ended up not working very well, which is kind of sad, but this book is still sitting on my shelf unread. And I know my friend, I believe, read it and that she liked it. And we have very similar reading tastes in certain books. So I feel like I'm going to potentially like this as well. So that's how it kind of came to be on my shelf. But now it's going into my current TBR crate and could potentially be read this month. My crate is a very happy little cozy corner right now. But there's 2 things that I've actually made adjustments on with regards to my crate. So one of the ways that I'm kind of sporadically, randomly choosing what I'm reading next out of my crate is I do have a spin the wheel tracker app on my phone, which allows me to create a wheel, create the specific choices on that wheel, and then spin it and it just randomly chooses a book. And that's what I read next. So what I've done is on that tracker app, I actually have removed kind of the hobby-esque style books. So, you know, the knitting, the crocheting, the beads, the calligraphy. I don't have those books actually listed on that spinner app because that's not necessarily something that I'm going to sit down and read from cover to cover. It's one that I'm going to pick up and slowly work through and try to create things from that I'm reading in the story. Well, not story, in the book. So the other thing is, if it is a continuing series, so maybe I purchased the follow-up in a series prior to purchasing or receiving the initial book in the series, I'm not including that on the tracker app because I don't want to read it out of order. If that is how it needs to be read, then I'm going to let it sit in my TBR crate and just sit there and kind of hold it there. Now, if there comes a point in time where my crate is full of these mismatched series, obviously I'm going to want to pull off, no matter where it is, the initial book I need to read in order to clear up those books in my crate because I can't add any other books. So that's the initial thing that was kind of taking place that I've kind of changed up a little bit, and I'm totally okay with it. Rather than removing it completely from the TBR crate, I want to leave it there because it's a reminder that it's something that I added that I need to get to. So it's still going to sit there. It's still going to be a part of the crate. It's just not going to be on the active playlist of choices. Now, the other thing that I've decided to switch up is still kind of dealing with the crate, but it's giving me a little bit of a fun factor. So I'm sure everybody knows about wild cards. Everybody loves getting a wild card. They maybe don't like it being played against them in Uno, but everybody loves to have a wild card in their hand. So what I've chosen to do is for every 10 books that I read in my TBR crate. So again, everything in the crate is from 2014 right now. So everything in the crate that I read is working towards clearing up the TBR from 2014. So every 10 books that I read and complete out of this crate is going to give me a wild card in my hand. And basically the wild card means that, not what you're thinking, I can go buy a new book. Instead, it's going to be allowing me to shop my shelves. So it means that I don't have to choose a book that was added to my shelf in 2014. It means that I can take something that maybe I was recently given, I recently bought. You all know I'm on a book buying ban this year, so the only books that should be getting added this year are the ones that are in the Stay a Spell series because my friend's mom bought me the entire series for Christmas. They just haven't all come in yet. So I actually am hopeful to use the wildcard factor to start reading those and clearing them off of my TBR shelf because some of those are going to be showing as being added this year, and my whole goal is to have nothing from 2024 existing on my TBR shelf, because I myself am not purchasing any books this year. But the wild card factor is going to allow me to shop my shelves and choose a random book that I bought whenever and added it to my TBR. I can pick it up and I can read it then. So for me, this wild card, it's going to allow me to still read some of the newer books I've added to my shelf that I really want to get to, while also making sure that I am reading through these previous books that have been on my shelf the longest. So there you have it. There is my TBR crate update for February, as well as just a general update on just some slight changes that I got thinking about during January and wanted to incorporate in my crate. Because again, my crate is my own and I'm kind of making up the rules as I go, but I feel like my crate has to have rules for it to actually function really well, because if not, I'm just going to stop reading my books and I'm going to go back into the habit of wanting to purchase new books. And I need to stay away from buying new books. I have more than enough on my shelf to read. Also, for those that are wondering what my number is now, so for the TBR pile from 2014 alone on Goodreads, I have 421 unread books. Yep. So that is books that I had existing prior to me getting Goodreads and ones that I added the year that I first joined Goodreads. So that's a fair amount, 421. But technically I have read 1% of that, which I'll be very happy about. So let me know for January, how do you do with your reading? Did you kind of find something that worked for you to start taking down your TBR? Did you find something that worked for you, similar to me with my TBR crate? I hope you guys had a good reading month for January, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you then. Bye!